on number 12 and finding the volume of a cylinder. Remember that a volume of a cylinder is area of the base, which is a circle, so pi r squared times the height. So we know that the volume is 113 400ths, and that's going to be equal to pi, which is approximately 3 1400ths, times, now the radius is what we do not know, that's what we're trying to find, so we have the radius squared, times the height, which we do know, is 4. So now before we isolate and solve for r, let's simplify like terms. So 3 1400ths times 4 would give me 113 400ths is equal to 12 5600ths times r squared. Using inverse operations to work towards isolating for r, I'm going to divide by 12 5600ths on both sides. That'll leave me with 9 equals r squared. In order to isolate r, to undo the square, and take the square root of both sides, canceling that out. So the square root of 9 equals r. The square root of 9 is rational, so therefore 3 is our radius. As we take a look at our next question, trying to determine whether or not there is one solution or two. Big difference here is if we are squaring something, we have an opportunity for positives and negatives to cancel each other out. So when we say x squared is equal to 49 over 121, that means we're asking ourselves what number times itself would equal 49 over 121. To get 49, I would take 7 times 7. To get 121, I would take 11 times 11. Now a positive times a positive equals a positive. In the same token, if I take a negative 7/11 times a negative 7/11, those negatives will cancel and will also equal positive 49 over 121. Because of that, that has two solutions. We say it has the positive and the negative of 7/11. When we take a look at what squared will equal 121, that's going to equal 11 because 11 times 11 is 121. But again, the same way that we have a positive times a positive equals a positive, a negative 11 times a negative 11 will also equal a positive. So therefore, again, it is two solutions, positive and negative. When we look to cube a number, now we're looking at what number times itself 3 times would equal 512. So folks, that's 8 times 8 times 8 will equal 512. Now let's take a look if we take our negative. If I take a negative 8 times a negative 8 times a negative 8, two of the negatives will cancel, but when I take a negative times that positive, I'm going to get a negative 512. So using the negative yields a different answer. Therefore, that one does not work. So when we have an odd exponent, such as an x cubed, it's only going to have one solution, and it's just the positive value of 8. Our last question on the quiz, number 20, is selecting all the relations that represent a function. Recall that if something is a function, that means each input has exactly one output. So as I take a look at these first ones, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at all the x values. And in that case, since all the x values are different and they each have their own y, that therefore then is a function. If I take a look at the second set of ordered pairs, I see that I have a 7 for the x values and it's repeating. So I have an input of 7 with an output of 4 and an input of 7 with an output of 8. Since that input has more than one output, it is not a function. It would be a relation only. As I take a look at the tables, I see that all my x values are different. It's okay that the output repeats because that would just create me a horizontal line. So therefore, that is a function because each input has exactly one output. 0 only goes with -3. 4 only goes with -3. As I took a look at the second table, here I have 4 goes with 5, 4 goes with 8, and 4 also goes with 0. If you notice that input is repeating with different outputs. Because of that, it is not a function. When we take a look at a graph, we're going to use the vertical line test, which means if I can draw a vertical line anywhere on that graph and it crosses more than once, it would be a relation only, because that would indicate that x has more than one y. So as I draw a vertical line, I'm going to look for the number of times it crosses. Crosses there once, crosses there once, crosses there once. Since I cannot draw a line anywhere and it crossed more than once, it is then a function. Same thing as I look through here, that'll cross one time, therefore this is a function.